this video we will discuss formation of ionic bond in sodium chloride. We know metal atoms tends to lose electrons in a chemical reaction, and non-metal atoms they gain electrons to acquire electronic configuration of nearest noble gas like neon, argon, krypton, etc. We know sodium is a metal. It is alkali metal. It belongs to group first A of the periodic table, while chlorine is a non-metal. It belongs to group 7th A of the periodic table, that is known as halogens. In order to understand formation of ionic bond in sodium chloride, we will write the electronic configuration of sodium as well as chlorine. So let's start the session. Sodium atomic number 11. Sodium atomic number 11. Electronic configuration of sodium will be K is equal to 2, L is equal to 8 and M is equal to 1. M is the valence shell for sodium. Sodium has 1 electron in its valence shell. In order to get the stability, usually sodium loses 1 electron from its valence shell to complete its octet in the valence shell. That is, after the loss of 1 electron from M, L will become its valence shell, which has 8 electrons. So sodium becomes stable after the loss of 1 electron. Its electronic configuration get matched with the noble gas. So here we will write the equation for the formation of sodium into sodium ion. Monopositive ion of sodium. Sodium changes to monopositive ion of sodium after the loss of 1 electron. Similarly, we write the electronic configuration for chlorine, and we will see how chlorine completes its octet, how it becomes stable. Chlorine is the member of halogens, group 7th of the periodic table. Its atomic number is 17. Now we write its electronic configuration. We distribute the 17 electrons of chlorine in different shells. In the K shell there are 2 electrons. In the L there are 8 electrons, and there are 7 electrons in the M shell. There are 7 electrons. If an element has more than 3 electrons in a chemical in its valence shell, then usually it will gain or share electrons in a chemical reaction. If an element has 4 electrons in its valence shell, usually it will form bond by the sharing of electron. If an element has 5 to 7 electrons in its valence shell, then usually it gain electron in a chemical reaction. In chlorine, there are 7 electrons in the valence shell, so chlorine will gain electron in a chemical reaction and changes to chloride ion to complete its octet to get the similar electronic configuration with noble gas. So if the electron which is loosed by sodium, that electron is picked by chlorine. Chlorine changes to chloride ion having -1 charge. After the picking of this electron, chlorine completed its octet in its valence shell, that is in M shell, and now it becomes stable. Now we will see the formation of sodium chloride with the help of electron dot structure. Now we will make electron cross dot structure for the formation of sodium chloride. First of all, we will write the electronic configuration for sodium. We know in sodium, in the K shell, there are 2 electrons. So we write 2 electrons in the K shell, 1, 2. In the L shell, sodium has 8 electrons. So we write 8 electrons in second L shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in the M shell, which is the valence shell of sodium, there is just 1 electron. Electrons of sodium are represented with the help of dots. Electrons of chlorine are represented with the help of cross. Now we will write the structure for chlorine. In the K shell there are 2 electrons, so we write 2 electrons in K shell. We represent these electrons with the help of cross. There are 8 electrons in the L shell of chlorine, so we write 8 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the M shell, which is the valence shell of chlorine, there are 7 electrons. So we write 7 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 electrons in the M shell of chlorine. Now we will see how sodium changes to monopositive ion of sodium and how chlorine changes to mononegative ion of chlorine. Usually sodium will lose 1 electron which is present in its valence shell, and if this electron is picked by chlorine, sodium will lose this electron, and if this electron is picked by chlorine, sodium will lose 1 electron which is present in its valence shell, and if this electron is picked by chlorine, now we'll see what will happen after the loss of 1 electron from the valence shell of sodium. Now we'll write the electronic configuration of sodium ion after the loss of 1 electron. Sodium to chlorine atom. The electron is shifted from. Now sodium will lose its 1 electron which is present in its valence shell, and if this electron is shifted in chlorine, then chlorine, after taking this electron, will changes to monopositive ion of chlorine, that is known as chloride ion. Now we will see what is the electronic configuration for sodium after the loss of this electron. Sodium will have 2 electrons in its first shell, that is K shell, and there are 8 electrons in the L shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 electrons in the L shell of sodium. After the loss of 1 electron, sodium changes to sodium ion. Now chlorine, after picking the electron which is lost by sodium, changes to chloride ion. Now we write the electrons in chlorine. 2 electrons in K. In the K shell there are 2 electrons. In the L shell there are 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in the M shell there are 7 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After picking this electron which is lost by sodium, the octet of chlorine is completed. Now chlorine has 8 electrons in its valence shell, and after picking this electron, chlorine is changes to chloride ion. Sodium ion and chloride ion, they are held together with the help of electrostatic force of attraction. We have discussed the formation of sodium chloride. I hope this is clear to you.